Hey, this is episode 212, Just Learn from Your Mistakes. And something different about this episode is not only are you listening, but you might also be watching. That's right, this is going to be our first podcast. We're actually video recording and putting it out there. I've noticed certain platforms allow that, and figured it's another way to kind of communicate. So we're checking it out, see how it rolls with this episode. If you guys are keeping track, I kind of talked about how I let my emotions get the best of me in the previous episode. So kind of expand on that a little bit of what kind of went on this week, and just some lessons, right? So it's been probably 5 days or so since the last podcast recorded it. And the biggest thing I get out of the experience would be that you win or you learn, right? So let's say it's maybe a fire you go to, you do a real good job, you put it out quick, save a bunch of belongings, did a good search, no one's in there, you win, right? Or maybe you went to one and I'm going to multiple alarms, losing part of the building. You're going to learn from those experiences, right? So it's not like a lose, even in like jiu-jitsu, when I go in matches. Lately I've been going to day class, and a couple guys that normally show up have me about, they're both brown belts, so they're way higher than me as far as that level, and they got about 80 pounds on me. So it's not, if I'm gonna lose, it's when I'm gonna lose, but it's always learning. I'm learning how to compete against bigger individuals. So I guess it's just looking at things a little bit differently. Because if you're like me, maybe you start dwelling on your mistakes. You're like, oh, I could have been better. I don't know why I did it this way. Just learn from it. You can't dwell on that stuff, because you've probably accomplished way more than the little setbacks that happen, if that makes sense. So if you start stacking up your wins as opposed to, setbacks, you probably have a bunch of wins. So don't concentrate on those little tiny things with it. And I touch base on that when, I'm a big fan. I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, and something he talks about is that he doesn't read the comments, because you're always going to have some people that are always going to try and get a rise out of you. So don't dwell on the negative stuff. And some of that is, I look at my book reviews, and most of them are, I think like 80% are 5 stars, and then you got like a couple ones in there, and some people will comment on it, oh, I had to read this for promotional exam or whatever. So I can fixate on those negative comments, or look at the overwhelming majority as positive. It's just like anything else, even in social media for stuff. We always tend to dwell on the negative part because we're not being accepted. But when you have such a large group of people, there's going to be people that just don't like you because they're not you, or they just don't like you, whatever. It's almost like going back that reptile brain of ours, right? And I think that's what it appeals to. So I'm sharing this with you guys because you probably have a lot of wins, but maybe we're like that. When stuff negative happens, you dwell on it because you try good. When you try really hard, you don't like when things don't go right, or when people have criticism for you. And I know that way, and I have to take my own medicine sometimes and realize, hey, I know better than this. Why did I let this get the best of me? It happens. We're human. I just recently put out an email about it, and what was cool is the reactions. People are like, hey, I've been there. Thanks for sharing this. It's nice to know you go through it too. Absolutely. I think everyone does, right? So if you guys don't know, the backstory is within a 2-day time period, I received like 1 negative criticism, and I had 3 very positive things said by my spouse, a former guy that was on my crew at one point, and another guy that kind of gave me a job offer, basically something to do on the side. And the one guy, I looked up to a lot, and it's a real great opportunity, and I told him I'd take him up on it. So what am I focusing on these past few days? I'm focusing on that 1 negative instead of those 3 amazing positives that happened or that was said. And who's that's fault? It's on me. And something to think about is, who would you be without that negative thought? Everything would be fine. You wouldn't worry about anything, right? So it's a practice I've done with it. If you can just release the thoughts, what helps me, and I talked about before, was I go to jiu-jitsu, and I feel great. So I always make sure I try and hit that during when everything was shut down. It was kind of a little challenging time there. But don't dwell on the stuff that you should just learn from. Learn from, move on, try to do better next time, right? And a lot of times we get caught up in our screw-ups instead of just going, you know what? It happened, dust yourself off, let's go again, right? It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up, right? So it kind of brings me down to lesson of the day, that is just celebrate your accomplishments and learn from your mistakes. Seems simple, but you look at sporting events. People make Hall of Fame. They talk about depending on the sport, how many touchdowns they had, or how many home runs or whatever. They don't talk about how many times they got struck out, don't know how many times they fumbled the ball or anything else. And I'm sure some of you that know me pretty well are probably surprised I know some of the terminology for sporting events, but I do know a little bit. Don't really watch it too much. It's just never been something I'm into. But the point is, when people make it to those levels, they don't dwell on those mistakes with it, right? Anyone who has accomplished a lot has also failed a lot at stuff, but they learned from them and got better. I don't know anyone that's been perfect. If you find them, let me know the secret to it and how we can be better. It's just trying to be better a little bit by the next day. Don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to the person you were yesterday and just try to be a little bit better. But that's kind of what I want to share with you guys. Hopefully you like this new platform for it. I am coming to you from the car line. So my son's actually sleeping in the back. I think he's getting up now. But that's all I got for you guys for this episode. If you got something out of it, share it up with somebody else. Do me a favor, head over to brotherhoodcoaching.com. Get some of those resources that are available there for you. But I'll just talk to you guys next time.